was to wrestle with the shadow she had come and must confront the riddle of man's birth and life's brief struggle in dumb matter's night, whether to bear with ignorance and death or hew the ways of immortality, to win or lose the godlike game for man, was her soul's issue thrown with destiny's dice. And afterwards, in Canto 3, we were introduced to her father. So it backtracks in time, the poem backtracks. And that canto begins, a world's desire compelled her mortal birth, one in the front of the immemorial quest. That's Aswapati, her father, protagonist of the mysterious play, in which the unknown pursues himself through forms and limits his eternity by the hours, and the blind void struggles to live and see. A thinker and toiler in the ideal's air, brought down to earth's dumb need her radiant power. So he brought Savitri down, incarnated in his daughter. And then in Canto 3, we kind of take a pause in the action of the poem, and Sri Aurobindo reveals to us the knowledge, the secret knowledge that Aswapati has so far gained in his yoga. He has already had very high spiritual realizations. And here we're given a view of his perception of reality. And in particular, the aspect that there is this high spiritual existence beyond, and then there is this struggling life that we see here on earth, and how these need to be integrated with one another in one experience. So we're given views of this high spiritual state to which one can attain, and on the other hand, we're given views of the difficulties and struggles and ignorance and death and perversion and all these things that we face here on earth in our lives. So how to reconcile those? And so this is the knowledge that we're given in these pages. Bhavan has referred to this canto as kind of another Upanishad. So it's kind of, it really gives, in a short space, an overall view of existence and of reality. So, beginning now on page 56. Line 379. Would you like to start?
379, yes.
379. This is our deepest need.
This is our deepest need, to join once more what now is parted, opposite and twain, remote in sovereign spheres that never meet, or fronting like far poles of night and day. We must fill the immense lacuna we have made, re-wed the closed finite's lonely consonant with the open vowels of infinity. A hyphen must connect matter and mind. The narrow isthmus of the ascending soul. We must renew the secret bond in things. Our hearts recall the lost divine idea. Reconstitute the perfect word. Unite the Alpha and the Omega in one sound. Then shall the spirit and nature be at one.
Thank you. So Sri Aurobindo gives us a few images here of this division between matter and spirit. And this need to join the two. So they seem like far poles of night and day. Or he again brings up this kind of metaphor of language to illustrate this. Re-wed the closed finite's lonely consonant with the open vowels of infinity. One line before.
Two are the ends of the mysterious plan. In the wide, signless ether of the self, in the unchanging silence, white and nude, aloof, resplendent like gold dazzling suns, veiled by the ray no mortal eye can bear. The spirits bear an absolute potencies, bound in the solitude of the thoughts of God. A rapture and a radiance and a hush, delivered from the approach of wounded hearts, denied to the idea that looks at grief, remote from the force that cries out in its pain, in its inalienable bliss they live.
Okay, thank you. Okay, again, he's referring to the two ends of existence here, spirit and nature. Earlier, he had referred to them as matter and mind. But these are the two ends of the mysterious plan. And now he begins describing just one pole of these, the spirit, in the wide, signless ether of the self, in the unchanging silence, white and nude. There he says, the spirits bear in absolute potencies, burn in the splendor of the thoughts of God. So these absolute potencies, he's going to refer to in the lines that follow with a pronoun, with they. So he'll be referring to those. At the end of the passage, in his inalienable bliss they live. He said that they burn in the solitude of the thoughts of God. So in his inalienable bliss, in God's inalienable bliss, these potencies live.
The powers and potencies.
But what's important is that in a way they're kind of remote and cut off from life, from our life here. Delivered from the approach of wounded hearts, denied to the idea that looks at grief, remote from the force that cries out in its pain. They live in this inalienable bliss and take no part in this lower nature of pain and suffering and ignorance.
Larry, but what we see there is the ones who are being delivered are those who are veiled, no? The one which the Spirit is delivering, us who has the idea that we are always in grief.
No, I think he's referring to these absolute potencies are delivered from all of this.
What does he mean by delivered?
Freed.
Freed.
They're always
Yes.
free. It's always free. That is, for me, it's also the first sentence where we started. Who are the ends of the mysterious plan? This is the essence from all this knowledge to understand it.
Yes.
There's
Yes.
high free potency and the involvement in the earth's process. It
correct.
is always, that is Sri Auroville is in every different way he expresses it.
But here he's kind of talking about that spirit as if kind of remote, divided, separate from the lower, and is delivered from all of these things and is unaffected.
Yes, but it implies that those who are being delivered are us.
I think that is delivered from our ignorance.
That delivered is a strange word for potencies which are always free from it anyway. When you are delivered from a previous bondage. So they never were bonded. They never were bound by anything. So why are they delivered? I don't understand this word. Free.
Maybe they have
Eternally free, but not delivered from.
maybe
Yeah, but the whole
maybe earlier they have experienced this one, and then they are only delivered from this experience and free there.
no, you have to read the whole sentence. It says delivered from the approach of wounded hearts. We are the wounded hearts.
But they have been
They are already delivered from that. They are not bound by it. No.
Yeah, that's what Mother says. When you live in the psychic consciousness, you don't feel the suffering even when you're on earth. You
Correct.
have a different consciousness.
I agree.
You live in the lighter consciousness, mental consciousness, you feel the suffering.
I agree.
So the soul is always free. There is always a higher one, higher plane and low plane. It chooses to be in matter in low plane. So that's why it's true.
Yes, that's why we're ascending.
Oh, mysterious.
See, we have the idea that looks at grief. We're always in this grief consciousness, but that's denied to them already. You know? Remote from the force that cries out in its pain.
Why it is called mysterious plan?
The unknowable.
Because it's very difficult to decipher or understand.
Yes.
I mean, we live in this world and I mean, Sri Aurobindo reveals this to us, but otherwise, where would we be in understanding this plan? And it's a very, it's an obscure plan. I mean, there is this absolute potencies of God, and then there is all the struggle and suffering on the other hand. What is the plan here? I mean, why is it like that? Why are these two things existing side by side and somehow they're not joining and coming together?
Yes.
For evolution, that's all. You push you, suffer, push you, you clean, push you, clean, push you.
You still have a question, no? What?
No.
Is evolution?
Wait, he has a question.
When we cut off, we are the one with that part, no? But when we cut off and become separated, we all again started.
Why did we?
Why and when?
Why and when? Well, that's part of the mystery.
That's the part of the mystery. There's no beginning, no ending. At the moment you're here,
But also, I think maybe he will explain that. I mean,
he did explain.
there
If you read
is.
the whole Savitri, he did explain it.
We have to experience.
The action Mother says in
The-
the first line to Savitri, how the universe began, it's itself an explanation. And Mother has explained it in her own words in the first line to Savitri. And she explained why the separation happened and how the four individual beings cut off from consciousness and became the four
Yes.
types.
Yes.
And then it was just, there was no other way that one could become multiple without getting divided and being separated.
Yes. And you can't have the play without this, from the 100% it becomes 0%. From superconscient it becomes inconscient and the game begins from there. So we're climbing out from it, no?
For me, it's also to understand this, why they have to be free. That is also, all, for my understanding, our process of evolution. We have to learn to step back and to look at it what is there. Then we are not involved so much. Otherwise, we could not see the whole and could help. So that is the same process what we have to learn. Yeah.
Correct.
And
To awaken from, no? Yes.
immaculate in self-knowledge and self-power, calm their repose on the eternal will. Only His law they come and Him obey. They have no goal to reach, no aim to serve. Implacable in their timeless purity, all barter or bribe of worship they refuse. Unmoved by cry of revolt and ignorant prayer, they reckon not our virtue and our sin. They bend not to the voices that implore. They hold no traffic with error and with rain. They are guardians of the silence of the truth. They are keepers of the immutable decree. Their deep surrender is their source of mind. Their still identity, their way to know. Motionless in their action, like a sleep. And peace, regarding the trouble beneath the stars, restless, watching the works of death and chance. Immobile, seeing the millenniums pass, untouched by the long map of fate unrolls, they look on our struggle with impartial eyes. And yet, without them, cosmos could not be.
Ah, wonderful. So nice. They are the source.
So all these are the bare and absolute potencies?
Wonderful, no?
And where did they get that power? From that surrender to the divine. They repose calm, they repose on the eternal will. Only His law they count, and Him obey. They have no goal to reach, no aim to serve. Only they're surrendered to the divine. They don't turn to the suffering human beings responding to their cry. All barter or bribe of worship they refuse. unmoved by cry of revolt and ignorant prayer. They reckon not our virtue and our sin. They bend not to the voices that implore.
To reckon is to call,
To
reckon. They reckon not our virtue and our sin.
they don't think about it. They don't take it into account, into consideration.
Because this is still based on the duality, the virtue and the sin, no? When we look at things, it's either good or evil, virtue or sin, the opposites. But for them, they are in the unity of the source, of the divine. So there's no more virtue and sin.
Yeah, that's important, that they're in that unity consciousness of
Yes.
spirit,
Hmm.
beyond the dualities, beyond the suffering. And then a deep surrender is their source of might. He says it quite
This is
clearly.
the solution, no? The see identity, the direct identification with the divine. The surrender to the divine, and then eventually we establish a identity to the divine.
The last is the freedom. Otherwise, it's entangled in all these
Yes.
expressions.
So the goal of yoga, no? Surrender and identification.
So simple. For the yoga.
So they're kind of above, at peace, regarding the trouble beneath the stars. As if they're looking down on all of this, but observing, witnessing, but not feeling, responding.
From my understanding, the mother often gave the tool how to get to the speech level. And she said when difficulty are there, stepping back, be calm, and we are helping or offering them. Then you get more the lightness, and you're not entangled in all these things. And she very often, in different ways, expresses how we can get free from this entanglement.
In all years to desire and dream and hope, they are stations of invaluable mind, moveless of all the world's enormous stars. Its ignorance is by their knowledge lit, its earning lust by their indifference. As the high draws, the low they have to climb. As the dead draw, there is no attention lost. Their aloofness drives man to surpass himself. Our passions helps to wake the eternal calm. Our drops are mind to make the omniscient light. Our helpless hearts to enshrine the omnipotent force. Acquiescing in the wisdom that made him, and the heart's intuitive of death and tears, acquiescing in the gradual step of time, carries the sin of the grief that stings the world's heart, careless of the pain that drains its body and life. Full of joy and sorrow is that gradual walk. They have no portion in the cold that dries. New clothes they shall not even run. Else might their strength be more and could not save.
Thank you. They are impervious, incapable of being damaged or affected by desire and doom and hope. Their station of inviolable might. Inviolable is secure from violation. Moveless upholds the world's enormous task. That moveless spirit is upholding all of this action of the world. And our ignorance is lit by their knowledge. Our yearning lasts by their indifference.
It's interesting. Its yearning lasts by their indifference, as the high draws the low ever to climb. And this understanding that the indifference has innate the power to call the lower to the higher. And that's an interesting seeing and understanding.
The equanimity and the detachment.
I think it's on an energetic level.
I mean, one aspect of it is that spirit is supporting all of this.
Yes.
It surrounds it, it is carrying this. Without that, this would just
It's the base,
sink,
it's the source, the base. Yes.
It would dissolve into chaos or something.
Yes.
It keeps it.
And that's good what you said, because that's one expression how the divine presence is pushing all forward, the nature from time immemorial. And that is here expressed, that brings forward.
And in a way, he's only kind of expressing a kind of a partial truth here. I mean, he's emphasizing this remoteness of the spirit. It's kind of indifference in that, but also, there is that mother force that, and the grace and all of these things that actively intervenes and supports, So he's kind of emphasizing one particular aspect of this separation of spirit and matter. But there is another part, and he will also, I think, reveal that as we continue.
Yes.
And also how all is working and goes forward. That is behind this knowledge.
Yeah, the evolution is the basis of it. But
And
now-
here he's stressing also how, that these potencies that are there, they're accepting the way things are now. They're acquiescing in the wisdom that made hell. I mean, they allow. They stand by and watch. And yet, because they also understand the wisdom or the reason behind it.
Acquiescing can be also termed as acknowledging, no? We acknowledge it,
Yeah.
It's there. It's the fundamental play. So yes, so we're acknowledging it. We're not denying anything.
On line 445, X might have tried him out and could not save. So if they were different and more pitiful, they could not save him.
Yeah.
Oh yes, but the two lines before that is very important as well. No, they have no portion in the good that dies. Mute, pure, they share not in the evil done. Oh, this is very important, these two. They are part of the play, but they are not bound by the play. That's why Sri Aurobindo says, no, the unbound playmaker. They're the ones who started the play, the source, but they are not bound by the play. Oh, it's fantastic.
Yes, but the reason is that they could not save him. They did. This is the point.
Sorry? Again.
Yeah, they do, see, otherwise they would be caught in the duality. We're caught in dualities. We see good and evil, and we want the good, fighting against the evil. But then we're caught in that
Yes.
duality.
Exactly.
But they're above both good and evil.
Yes, they're unbound by it. No?
But I like the second part. Their aloofness lies man to surpass himself. My response is this line. When the question about evolution is exactly this. That's all. Always for surpassing yourself. Every bound, every tears, every falsehood, everything. That's all for. It's fantastic.
It is.
For that you come to the.
Now we go
Not
to.
easy, but okay. It's like that.
That's nice, no man to surpass himself. So we're now talking about something that is beyond man. Here is what the supramental being comes into picture. The one beyond man.
But when you think about it, it's not only the aloofness which drives man to surpass himself. In fact, all the attributes of the divine drive man to surpass himself, whether it is aloofness, whether it is calm, whether it is detachment, or love, or compassion, or whatever.
Yes.
They always drive man to surpass himself, no?
Yes, definitely.
But the aloofness makes it easier to see all the ways.
The non-detachment.
Yes.
It's only one factor from like what Turiya said, love, compassion, all of that. This is very important. The ananda, the bliss. Beautiful.
So we will also now, I think, come to kind of this more active component of the divine. And Ganga Lakshmi could read.
Alive to the truth that dwells in God's extremes. Awake to the motion of all seeing force. The slow outcome of the long ambiguous years. And the unexpected good from the woeful dead pits. The immortal sees not as we plainly see. He looks of the hidden aspect and screened powers. He knows the law and natural line of things, undriven by a brief life's will to act, and harassed by the spur of pity and fear. He makes no art to empty the cosmic knot, or the words
stone jarring earth to reconcile. In time he waits for the eternal's hour, yet a spiritual sacred head is there, while tardy evolution's oils run on, and nature used her way through adamant the divine intervention through the bone.
Line 449, and the unexpected quote from Woeful, how do you say?
Woeful.
Woeful?
Yeah.
Woeful deeds. Woeful means full of pain.
Yeah, pain, suffering, sorrow.
Can you explain what is this he looks? Where comes the he from?
What line?
He knows
And who's he?
the immortal.
The immortal.
He kind of shifts here. Before he was talking about those potencies as plural, they. Now he turns to a singular he, the immortal. So he is awake to a motion of all-seeing force. So that's very important, because this divine, immortal being who is looking on all of this, all the trouble of life, he sees behind it an all-seeing force working. And it's working slowly, the slow outcome of the long, ambiguous years. It sees the future outcome of all this difficulty, which we don't see. We are caught up in the moment. But it sees where it's leading towards.
This is two lines. He looks on hidden aspects and screen powers, not only on the surface of what is going on, but on all levels. And he knows the long natural line of things.
Yeah, again, we're always just looking at the surface, but we don't understand the forces operating, the things that are moving all of this. We don't see that all-seeing force behind. We don't see even the smaller forces and beings behind that are moving all of this outside circumstance. Well, again, he's referring to this immortal being. So this immortal being doesn't have this, it's not caught up in this brief life like we are.
It's not affected by reactions.
We're caught up in the moment. In our brief life, we see its end coming. We want to get something done before we depart. And that immortal isn't moved in that way. He doesn't look at things in the same way that we do. He looks through the long eons of time, sees where all of this drift, this evolution is moving towards. Our spirit also participates in that, but we're normally ignorant of that.
Next was, he makes no haste to untie the cosmic knot. Now, won't it be awesome if he made haste to untie the cosmic knot?
We're in that time now. We call it evolution fast forward. So it's necessary, otherwise the humans will destroy the whole planet.
Well, I think that's why it's
Huh?
divine intervention. Because with that,
Could you speak loud?
no, I just said he makes no haste to untie the cosmic knot. That is the natural process of nature's evolution. But he's saying in the forthcoming lines, he's explaining a divine intervention from above. So it's with divine intervention that the slow starting process is untied.
Beautiful. The answer is there. See, nature doesn't care. She says, okay, species after the next comet striking Earth doesn't matter. You go billions of years. But now it's different. No, the divine intervention has happened.
I like to share that this line, really like the 8 lives you had, and has by the scholar written that in the early days of the ashram, devotee come previous, I think, okay, was going to meet Savitri. And this or get people are so strong, the go to Savitri says, no, is not affected by this report. But those who are the dead, they are start crying with the crying of this lady or somebody. And what's there? So many people are coming to give permission to me. She is coming so far distance, they are not allowing. I think something matching like this. It is not driven by this. It's very interesting.
I forgot what this is
All
for.
this lives will for the PT or
What is a spur? I forgot.
Spur?
Yeah, what the cavalier.
Yeah,
Yes, the horse.
cutaway.
Yes, the horse rider. Yeah.
So it spurs the horse to move it faster.
Yes.
There are some beautiful lines that come later in the poem about, that this imploring the divine to come now, don't wait, like while we suffer, come down.
Yes.
And then the Divine Mother consents after that imploring and does come.
Yes.
So we're coming to this other aspect of, the grace or of the divine that does intervene and come forward. So, Nitya, would you continue?
Alive in a depth rotating universe. We were not here on a casual day, abandoned to a task beyond our force. Even through the tangled anarchy called fate, and through the bitterness of death and fall, an outstretched hand is felt on our lives. It is near us in unnumbered bodies and words. In its unslackening grasp, it keeps for us safe the one inevitable, supreme result no will can take away and no doom change, the crown of conscious immortality. The Godhead, promised to our struggling souls when first man's heart dared death and suffered life.
Thank you.
Why does it refer to the universe as dead rotating?
It seems that way. Sometimes it seems
It's a
that
machinery.
we're alive here in this kind of deadness of space, enormous space, infinite. But he's saying, we whirl not here upon a casual globe. So he's kind of denying this in a way as the reality. We're not abandoned. Sometimes we may feel abandoned in our life. Why am I faced with this?
The big question.
And these lines are so beautiful. Even through the tangled anarchy called fate, and through the bitterness of death and fall, an outstretched hand is felt upon our lives. It is near us in unnumbered bodies and births. So we're not abandoned. Surely the divine is there, watching, supporting, helping, guiding, moving things. This is that conscious force that's behind, although we don't see it. We don't feel it necessarily. But it's always there.
I like also, it's interesting for me here that it is the expressing that we had unnumbered bodies and births. And because in normal consciousness it's not there. There's only the life and this and not, and that's why I like so much the film of Raymond Moody, Life After Life. It shows how the people coming and going here. And so it is the mass of people are not aware, not thinking about it. They have many lives here.
Not just people.
It has to develop more. That's one of the points from my understanding, which has to develop more. This awareness. And even then, always is our stretched hand there. With all the lives there.
Yeah, that's part of that idea of being harassed by the brevity of our life. You know, if we could also see and understand that we've had unnumbered lives, and we'll have more to come, that it's not just this one brief life we're confined to, that our souls actually persist through many lives.
This is important, no, Larry, because there are many cultures or groups of humans who think that this life is the only life. Yes. They don't even think about rebirth or reincarnation. It's out of the radar.
This is Buddhism?
Not quite. Buddhism talks about rebirth.
No.
It's not that. It's not that.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, it's not Buddhism.
I read that.
Yes,
Christianity?
Yes, more or
the
less.
wrong understanding of Christianity. In the early times,
Yes. That's why they are forced to do unspeakable evil, where there are 27 virgins waiting for them in heaven.
But that's a distorted form.
Yeah, that's why it is acknowledged that there are individuals like here on earth who still think like that. No, we're not denying it. It's happening.
but there are also the atheists.
Here,
It is very important, the one inevitable supreme result, no will can take away and no doom change. It's true. It's really, really true.
yeah, and what that is,
This is for me is very, very, very important after a long time in our life.
the crown of conscious immortality.
Yay!
Exactly.
Fantastic.
To live conscious of one's immortality.
Yes.
Some little part inside.
Beautiful, no? It's like our potentiality. No?
And he's saying this will come.
Mm.
This is something each of us,
It's a promise, no?
yeah, it's a promise.
But not only the promise for me, is little, very small experience, but is very, very important. As I said, the small experience is better near the vast movement of the, is very in agenda, sorry, I read both. Alors for me, the compilation about Schrödinger and the mother is very, very, very interesting. For example, was a talk yesterday when I listened about desire. Desire is not only, is incredible what Mother said. In 4 November 1963, is incredible description about the way, inner way, and evolution, about the people, is mother. Always the end is a wow.
And we had talked, he had asked about the mysterious plan. Well, here he's saying this conscious immortality was promised to our struggling souls when first man's heart dared death and suffered life. So from the very beginning, this crown of conscious immortality was there. So that's part of the mysterious plan. And that plan actually was not very clearly understood by mankind, I think, up until now.
Yes, we have to evolve out from the ignorance of it, no?
Maybe when a human being will understand it fully, then as Mother said, one can smile at what is happening and then connect to it.
Tim, would you?
One who has shaped this world is ever explored. Our errors are his steps upon the way. He works through the fierce vicissitudes of our lives. He works through the hard breath of battle and toil. He works through our sins and sorrows and our tears. His knowledge overrules our measures. Whatever the appearance we make, we must bear. Whatever our strong ills and present fate, when nothing we can see but drift and beg. A mighty guidance leads us still through all. After we have served this great divided world, God's bliss and oneness are our inborn right. The date is fixed in the calendar of the unknown, an anniversary of the birth sublime. Our soul shall justify its checkered form. All will come near, that now is not, that will far.
Thank you.
What is drift and veil? Line 4,
Yeah.
8, 3.
Well, drift is like matter deposited, let's say, by a glacier, or it could just be something, there's like driftwood on the sea, things that are just kind of carried waste.
Without
waste
direction,
material.
without
Yeah,
any
just kind
definite
of
direction,
flowing.
it's just drifting.
In Baal, at least one meaning is woe, sorrow.
Sorrow.
But there are also bales, it's, just kind of bundles of things. But I think maybe this woe and sorrow is more appropriate.
One is drifting and one is stuck in a bale.
Yeah, it maybe kind of carries a little bit of both those meanings.
Because people can get polarized into something, no? This is the only truth.
Vicissitudes. What's that mean? Sorry, 9.
Yeah, I see.
477.
777.
Mutability, changefulness, the changing aspects, but also it can be difficulty or hardships. The kind of the surface changing circumstances of our life, which are all often difficult. Events occurring by chance. All of these meanings it carries.
Yes. That is unwelcome or unpleasant.
Interesting is again the line, this knowledge overrules our nescience.
Yeah.
Can you reflect on it?
Thankfully.
For a
Yeah, on that earlier page there was the line, awake to a motion of all-seeing force. Kind of behind everything, there is this all-seeing force. And that is working through the vicissitudes of our lives, working through the hard breath of battle and toil, and through our sins and sorrows and our tears. That force is kind of working through all of these things. And that all-seeing knowledge overrules our nescience. Although we are ignorant, we stumble and fall, still that force behind leads us through all.
The grace, no? Yes.
A mighty guidance leads us still through all. That force is behind all these things that we see on the surface in our ignorance. And maybe we can continue from there. Would you read, please?
After we have served this great divided world, God's bliss and oneness are our inborn right. A date is fixed in the calendar of the unknown, an anniversary of the birth sublime. Our soul shall justify its checkered walk. All will come near that now is not or far. These calm and distant minds shall act at last, immovably ready for their destined task. The ever-wise compassionate brilliances await the sound of the incarnate's voice, to lead and bridge the chasms of ignorance, and heal the hollow, yearning gulfs of life, and fill the abyss that is the universe.
So it seems line 491. The These calm and distant minds shall act at last,
Yea.
immovably ready, the ever-wise, compassionate brilliancies. It looks like these are what he called the page before, the spirits bare and absolute potencies. They are now transformed into compassionate brilliancies. No?
Await the sound of the incarnate's voice.
Yeah, that's so important.
Beautiful, no? It should be the spirit has incarnated into matter,
Yeah.
and which is the avatar.
Calling them down, bringing them down.
Because the incarnate is even capital I. So it's the incarnate.
That would be nice when you reflect a little more, just, it's a little more mysterious.
I mean, we can look at Sri Aurobindo and the Mother as calling down, bringing down this supramental light and force here upon earth
Yes.
in order to overcome these struggles and difficulties of life, to transform the life here. And somehow, apparently that's also needed, that incarnate divine here within, living within matter, calling that higher consciousness and force down into their own physical bodies. That's part of the necessity of that transforming force. Only they could do that.
So we can follow.
So we can follow.
They're the catalysts.
No, it is nothing, no? Not.
Yes. Correct.
The last line is that this is the universe.
The abyss that is the universe. It is like an abyss, it seems. This kind of
You don't know
lifeless.
the universe is in you. Alors you have abyss also.
That's why we call it the climbing out from the abyss. It starts from the very bottom, the abyss.
Well, actually, you can say it's more to get its fire from above, not from down.
No, it's both. It's both. The above has become the abyss. So the game starts. You can call it let there be light or the Big Bang. So it depends on you how you interpret it. You start from the abyss, from the ignorance. Then we climb out of it.
Those were those two extremes that he was talking about, the matter and the spirit, or nature and spirit. So this is the joining of the two ends of existence. Thanks to Sri Aurobindo.